Schopenhauer on desire and suffering. Arthur Schopenhauer, the 19th century German philosopher, bequeathed a profoundly pessimistic yet intellectually rigorous framework for understanding human existence. Central to his philosophy is the stark, undeniable link between desire and suffering. He didn't view suffering as a mere accident or unfortunate circumstance, but as an intrinsic, necessary condition of life itself, driven by a blind, irrational metaphysical force he termed the will, or Wille. The tyranny of the will, an insatiable engine. Schopenhauer's concept of the will is not the conscious, rational choice-making faculty we typically associate with willpower. Rather, it is the fundamental, uncaused, and unceasing drive that underlies all phenomena in the world, from the force of gravity to the complex biological imperative in living organisms. In human beings, the will manifests as a relentless, purposeless striving, a perpetual cycle of desire, attainment, and renewed desire. This will is the root of all human desire, or Wollen. We are not masters of our will, we are merely its objectification. Think of it as an immense subterranean engine that never shuts down. When we desire something, be it a promotion, a new relationship, or simply the next meal, that desire is a lack, a tension, a form of pain. The desired object appears to us as a temporary cessation of this pain, a fleeting moment of relief. The cycle of pain, want, relief, and boredom. The tragedy, as Schopenhauer sees it, unfolds in a three-act structure that guarantees suffering. 1. Want, pain. Every desire, every striving is rooted in dissatisfaction. The moment a goal is established, we are in a state of unfulfillment, which is essentially a negative condition, a state of pain. If you desperately want something, that wanting is painful. 2. Attainment, brief illusion. When the desire is finally fulfilled, the pain of want ceases. This cessation of pain is what we mistakenly call happiness. However, the joy is incredibly short-lived. The moment of fulfillment is the peak, and the descent begins immediately. 3. Boredom, renewed pain. After a brief, illusory moment of satisfaction, the will, which cannot rest, is immediately objectified in a new desire. If a new object of striving is not immediately found, the individual sinks into boredom, Langeweile. Schopenhauer considered boredom to be a profound testament to the will's inherent restlessness and the emptiness of existence. Boredom is simply the pain of the will turning on itself, when external striving is temporarily absent. It is proof that our existence is fundamentally driven by a negative state, lack, pain, rather than a positive one, joy, fulfillment. The cycle then repeats: want, satisfaction, boredom, new want. This relentless oscillation between the torment of desire and the languor of boredom is the warp and weft of the human condition. The false promise of happiness, a negative concept. Schopenhauer argues that happiness is not a positive state of prolonged bliss, but is, by its very nature, negative. It is defined solely by the absence of pain. For instance, the feeling of health is only noticed when illness, pain, is present. The relief of thirst is only celebrated when the painful lack of water is satisfied. We are, therefore, striving for something that is inherently ephemeral and merely a temporary truce with suffering, not a permanent victory. He contrasts this with suffering, which he views as intensely positive and tangible. We keenly feel hunger, betrayal, and disappointment. These are not merely absences of good things, they are forces in their own right, underscoring the reality that pain is the rule and pleasure is the exception. Escape routes, the aesthetic and the ethical. Given this grim assessment, Schopenhauer pondered the possibilities of redemption, or at least respite. He identified two primary, if temporary, routes to transcending the tyrannical will. 1. Aesthetic contemplation, temporary respite. The first is found in the experience of art, particularly music. When a person is deeply absorbed in a work of art, they are no longer perceiving objects, the individual manifestations of the will, for their utility or their ability to satisfy a personal desire. Instead, they are contemplating the Platonic ideas, the timeless, pure forms underlying the world. In this state, the individual temporarily steps out of the chain of causality, becomes a will-less subject of knowing, and is freed from the burden of his own individual striving. This freedom is brief, but it offers a profound, disinterested joy, a moment of Sabbath of the afflicted world. 2. Asceticism and denial of the will. Permanent escape. The ultimate, if rare, path to liberation is the denial of the will to live, Verneinung des Willens zum Leben. This is a radical ethical shift, echoing Eastern philosophies like Buddhism. It involves a conscious, voluntary resignation from all striving and gratification. The saint or ascetic who embraces poverty, chastity, and self-denial aims to destroy the very root of desire within themselves. This path is not merely about suffering. It is about recognizing that the self, the individual expression of the will, is the problem, and attempting to silence its demands. This denial leads to a state of serenity and true peace, a nirvana-like state, which Schopenhauer suggests is the only genuine and lasting transcendence of the suffering in desire itself. Schopenhauer's philosophy, though perhaps disheartening at first glance, is a powerful call to introspection. It compels us to recognize the relentless engine of desire that drives our lives, and to seek meaning not in the perpetual pursuit of fleeting satisfaction, but in moments of disinterested contemplation, and, for the few, in the profound serenity of non-striving. If this deep dive into the philosophy of desire and suffering struck a chord, please let us know in the comments below. Which of Schopenhauer's ideas resonates most with your own experience of life? Don't forget to like this video if you found the discussion thought-provoking, and subscribe to the channel for more explorations into complex philosophical concepts. Your support helps us keep the conversation going.